I want to show you one more transformational tool that's kind of like in our arsenal of tools to transform objects, all those things. It's called the free transform tool right here. Actually, before we go there, let me go back to the selection tool. Selection tool allows me to select something and allows me to move it. If I hold the Alt key down during the move, I can make a copy. If I go to a corner, I can make it bigger or smaller. If I hold the Shift key down during the move, I can actually maintain proportion. The standard run-of-the-mill, been there forever selection tool. Now let's go to the free transform tool. If I come over here and drag, just like using the selection tool, if I hold the Alt key down, it won't make a copy. So that's one of the things it won't do, but let's dwell on what it can do. Go to a corner, it'll resize it just like the selection tool. But here's the difference. There is a reason why it's called free transform. You have to do something. You have to hold down a key, but it won't work unless you've already begun the drag process. So we're going to click again and begin moving it. Now reach over and hold down the Control key. That's the Command key on a Mac. And basically what you wind up with is the ability to change that one corner. I can do the same thing on the other side, but I must start dragging first. Hold the Command key down, boom, there you go. I guess I've made like a trapezoid. You might assume on an object like this one that I have the ability to move the points, but that's not true. Don't assume anything. It's still working in a bounding box. I can go to a corner, just like before, begin the drag process, then hold the Control key down if I want to do that. I can also go to a middle anchor, any one of the middle anchors, and begin dragging up and down, but if I hold down the Control key, I can then skew it. I find this tool valuable in making perspective, taking an item and stretching it over a surface to make it look like it's on an angled surface. But there are better ways to do this. So let me show you another way and why I think this tool is becoming less and less valuable as Illustrator gets more and more powerful. I'm going to go to another image. In this image, I have two triangles. And what I want you to visualize here is you're looking at the point at the corner of a wall. We're face on, and the triangular parts going down to the vanishing point are where it recedes into the distance. That's the whole idea here. I could use the free transform tool on this to make changes. But again, this is one of the reasons why I find other tools taking its place. We have a tool right here. And this tool right here allows you to create what's called a perspective grid, CS5. When you click it, you'll see this. And when people first looked at this, they thought, well, it's a way for me to use it to visually change things. That's not how this works. Over here on the other side of the screen, I actually have a couple of images I'm going to drag over from my other monitor. For example, I'm going to drag over a bike. And there she is. It's a nice bike. I could use my free transform tool to make that thing look like it's on the side, but this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave it selected. I'm going to come over to that tool that made the perspective, and I'm going to come over and click the next tool down, Perspective Selection Tool, and watch what happens when I grab and drag this bike. That's what I'm talking about. It's actually doing it automatically, and if I move it this way, it gets smaller or it gets larger. Now, it's important to understand how this works. The reason it worked on this corner is because I had this box right here selected. You have three areas. You have this side, and the floor. If I come over here and pick up this box, leave it selected. I'm going to drag over another item. And this one is a fighter jet. All right. Same idea. But remember, this time I have that box selected, which controls this perspective. And I come over here and pick up that marvelous tool and click on my item, and there she goes into the wild blue yonder. If you'd like to see what it looks like with all the grid work, which I do, what you want to do is come back to this tool, Perspective Grid tool, and basically come up here and click the little X. The cool thing is, if we go back into our Perspective Selection tool, it'll still work. So we can still work on the objects without the distraction of the grid. Now you can see why some of the tools, which are still there and they're still good and they're still valuable, don't get me wrong, are beginning to be replaced by some of these really cool new features. Perspective Grid is an amazing way to change the perspective of items in an Adobe Illustrator document. It really is cool.